All right, so we're back with doing the valve adjustment again. Valve shims came in, needed 6 valve shims. See the ones I have marked with the yellow crayon, the ones I needed. So we're going to go ahead and put these valve shims where they go. We're just getting the valve shims here. Valve shims came in, so I'm putting them where they need to go, and then we're going to put the cams in and remeasure everything. So first off, so 165. So 165 goes there, and a 165 is there, and then the rest of them are 1.7 valve shims. Hey, who's there in the chat? Just curious. Hey, what's up, Pitchfork? Just putting the valve shims here. Okay. All right. So, got all of our buckets lined out in order. Done with the paper for now. Put the valve shims in. I'm going to do them one at a time. And I'm just going to upend it like that. And they go right in here. Right there like that on top of the valve stem. And then we're going to take our bucket here. Yeah, man, these valve adjustments are pretty crazy. It's what it is with overhead cams. The V-twin, like the Harleys and stuff, are a lot easier. And I'm gonna put just a little bit of assembly lube on these, and I'm gonna put a dot on all the camshafts before I put them in. The bucket goes over the top, just like that. So I'm gonna see if I can set my phone up so it will show everything I'm doing here. I'll probably just have to put it back where I had it before. Up in there. Seems like a good spot. Oh man, I'm fucking beat, dude. I didn't sleep all too good last night. And then I went to the gym, had work all day. Debated doing this live stream tonight, but I wanted to get something done on it. And I'm going to put all the valve shims in just right now. And then I'll put the cam buckets back in. After I get all the valve shims in. I'm surprised that you have the patience to sit through an You and Jack A and somebody else got the patience to sit through and watch all fucking God knows how many hours this is gonna be. That's crazy to me. Do you just put it on in the background while you're doing something or what? Hey, what's up, Red Duck? Yeah, I mean, this is tedious work. I would expect that somebody would watch man, watched every minute. I would expect somebody to watch like an edited version of this, but not the whole damn thing. But I appreciate you watching, man, for sure. I forgot to leave. I was gonna link you the edited version of a guy did a valve adjustment on a 2007 2008 ZX6R, but I got put in the naughty corner with YouTube for some of my comments that either that night or the next morning that I had said I was going to link it, and I couldn't link it. I couldn't comment for like 24 hours. So I will link that one. I've done the work on vehicles, bikes are similar, but they're not too. Yeah. I mean, some of the people don't take the bikes down as far as I do. But really, it's not much more that I took off. Like, I took the radiator out. That just gives you better access. I think it's worth it. Yeah, I mean, the cams, absolutely, the top of the motor has to come off, the timing chain, the cams. And some people don't take the side engine cover off because they don't want to mess with the timing chain down there. But to me, it's worth it because I can, before I put it all, you have to take the timing chain loose up top. So before you put it all back together, 100% certain that you have your timing right. That's just something I'm not going to risk. So I'll take the cover. I'll take the lower timing cover off to check all that. Yeah, exactly. Hey, Jack. Hey, no, you haven't missed much. What's up, ADV Idaho? No, I was just putting the valve shims back in. So I got everything measured. The new valve shims came in. And, my phone's acting weird now. I'll show you here. And basically, I'm just placing the valve shims. They go right on top of the valve stem right there. I'm just placing the valve shims on before I put the buckets back in. And see, I've got everything lined up in order here. And you can use engine oil, but I've got this assembly lube. Just put a dab, wipe it around on the buckets. Like that. And those are very tight tolerances, so don't force them. You got to get them lined up just right. You got to get them lined up just right or they won't go in. I'm probably going to take my hoodie off in a second because this is my gym hoodie and I don't want to get it all oily. So that one's kind of being fidgety. There it goes. But yeah, you want some lubricant on them, whether it's engine oil or assembly lube or whatever. And then we just go down the line lubing up each bucket, making sure the bucket goes exactly where it came out of. Just go down the line and put the buckets back in. Oh, I missed something. And as I was telling Pitchfork earlier, I was going to link that edited version of a ZX6R valve adjustment. It's like a 13-year-old, like 3 or 4 part series this guy did. I was going to link it, but I got put in the naughty corner with YouTube and I couldn't comment for 24 hours and then I forgot about it. So if you go, I will link it in part 1 of this live stream series. If you go to part 1, I'm going to link part 1 of that guy's series. And if you just go to his channel, you'll see he has all the other ones there. And he did a very good explanation of doing the valve adjustment. So once we get all this put back together, we got to measure it again. And unfortunately, I did all my calculations, but if the actual measurement is out, we got to take it back apart and change shims if any of them are out. If they're a little bit too loose, you should be good. You really just don't want them too tight. Now, if it's like really, really loose, yeah, you should change the shims. But if it's just a little bit loose, it's going to be fine because as time goes, the valves are going to get tight again anyway. So, and a valve being a little bit loose isn't going to hurt the engine either. It's really when the valves are tight is that you start getting damage to the engine. Burn an exhaust valve or something like that because the valve stays open too long. The only thing you might suffer with a valve being a little bit too loose would be performance. Oh, this bucket slipped. But the valve would have to be really, really loose in order for you to suffer performance. And at that point, you would probably hear it. So. Just lubing my buckets up. Yeah, I don't know what temperature it is where you guys are at, but it's like 25 degrees out here right now, and it feels like it's 15 with the wind blowing. I got I had to bust out my diesel rocket heater to heat up my shop, and then turn my my HVAC mini splits on, because if I try to heat up the shop initially with the mini splits, they'll freeze up in this weather. So I got to get the shop up to temperature with that diesel heater, and then the mini splits will kind of maintain the temperature. This stuff is real stringy, but that's okay. That's okay. And now what we're going to do is we're going to put a little bit of assembly lube on all the camshaft journals, the bearing surfaces, basically. And then when we put the camshafts, and we're going to put, oh, that's like dripping out. Then we're going to put some on the, we're going to put a dot on the top of the valve bucket, or the shim buckets. And then we're going to put some on the camshaft too before we put the camshaft back in. Just want to make sure everything's, and yeah, like I said, again, you can use oil, but just because I had it apart and everything was dry, I like to use assembly lube. Plus, you don't have like runny oil on everything. The assembly lube kind of sticks to things better. 29 degrees in Decatur, Texas, 41 San Juan. Yeah, where are you at, Pitchfork? I think you said you travel a lot, but you were in Texas at some point. But I saw your comment just there. Ooh, I didn't see this before. Let me show you guys this here. Yeah, what did I say? What did I say to somebody? I think I called somebody a cuck or a soy boy or something like that. It was it was pretty mild. I didn't like drop the S slur on them or anything. So let me put my phone around here. And of course it fucked up the orientation. There we go. Okay. You see that scoring on this camshaft journal right here? That one's clean. That one's got some scoring on it. But I'm running my finger along it and my fingernail barely catches it right there. This one over here has a little bit. I don't know. I wonder if it ran dry at some point. Take a look at the bearings here. Top. Yeah, that one's a little bit scored too. Really not too bad. I'm debating if I want to run some very light emery cloth over that to clean it up. Maybe not even emery cloth. I might just want to run Scotch-Brite over it. But even then, I'm kind of hesitant to do that. It would have been this camshaft. It would have been this one right here where that's running. I didn't notice that before, or maybe I did. Just didn't think anything of it. Man, damn it. I'm definitely not replacing anything. I'm absolutely just throwing this back together. It's not really that bad. And even if it was worse, I would just clean it up and throw it back together because the motor's fucked anyway. If I was going to do anything with it, I'll just drive it till it blows up, basically. Something like that. Let's see what I got in here. This drawer's kind of in disarray. You can handle doing the job. Let's see. Y'all are going to look at the ceiling for just a second. So I have some, what is this, 400 grit. This is very, very mild stuff. 400 grit emery cloth. I would almost even want to run 1500 over it, but I don't think I have any 1500. I'll show you what I'm going to do here. We've done more tedious, not by choice. There we go. Take the emery cloth and put some oil on it. This is 0W20 oil. And then I'm going to run this part of the metal cart here clean. Scrub it down just a little bit. Scrub the emery cloth down. There we go. It's good and smooth. I'm gonna wipe it. It's clean. Now it's pretty smooth. I'm gonna put some more oil on it. And then I'm gonna use this to very lightly clean up that bearing. So I'm gonna put this up here. This kind of makes me nervous doing this, but it's gonna be a very light. You want to do it evenly. Just do even swatches across the full surface. There we go. You don't want to use like any really rough sandpaper. Like this is 400 grit and it's already very, very fine. And I rubbed it down a little bit and put oil on it before I did this. Okay, there we go. That's just barely smooth. I just barely took just a little bit off of that. You really don't want to take very much at all. Okay, so that's good. Now we're gonna do this one down here. Remember how this went, so I don't lose my. Pretty sure this should only go on one way anyway. Right here. Just barely, not even a lot of pressure, just barely run it over it, just to take the minor imperfections out of it. And you don't want to go for full smooth either. You just want to take the high spots off. Because when you start getting down to try to get it fully smooth, you're just taking more material off, and then your bearing clearances are going to be too big. So just barely enough to take the high spots down. And that's good. That's all that needed. Now I'm going to look at the camshaft. I don't drop it. Camshaft looks okay, but I'm going to do one pass over this just to clean it up lightly. Now I'm going to take, I need to go get a different rag. Now I'm going to take a look at all the other bearings again, all the journals, because I don't know how I missed that one. All the other ones look okay. It's just that one was a little rough, but we're good now. And I barely didn't even take any material off. I just barely took the high spots off of it. I'm gonna just put a dot on each bucket. Rub it around on each one a little bit. Okay. Now, oh, I didn't need to do that. There we go. Have the marks. I can still see the marks that I etched into the back of the sprocket on the camshaft, so I know where that should go. Now I'm gonna lube up each bearing surface and cam lobe. Get everything lubed up on this. It's amazing to me that a steel camshaft like this can run on an aluminum bearing journal for thousands of miles and not cause any damage. Okay, so one camshaft lubed up. Take our other one. Up too, and this stuff is real sticky and stringy and it gets everywhere. That's what you want. They make other kind of assembly lubes as well that are more like a grease, and those aren't quite as sticky and stringy, but that makes a mess too. So I kind of like this style of assembly lube better though. Okay, now camshafts are lubed up. I'm gonna move phone. Yeah, this stuff is Permatex Ultra Slick. Any kind of assembly lube will be fine. Man, I keep switching cameras like that, and I don't need to. All right, so I'm gonna come around to the other side. And I'm looking at the back side of the cam sprocket where I had made my mark. It's right there. Timing chain. Stick it. Very careful with this because it's a steel camshaft on aluminum. You don't want to damage anything. And I don't know if the timing chain is moved because it seems like I don't have quite as good of a movement, but I'm going to try to get both the cams in first. The timing chain seems a little bit hung up. So basically right now I'm just looking down here in the crankcase. There we go. I had to move one of those guides out of the way just a little bit. Okay. All tricky. I got to get it in place a little bit and then slip the chain over it. Have your mark you made. Yeah, it's not really wanting to cooperate right now. So I gotta, first of all, I'm gonna line this one up because this one wasn't exact. There we go. Okay, got that one. The exhaust side lined up. Now, I'm gonna pull this camshaft back out a little bit. Go. Fit it over it. Be careful. You're touching on. There we go. Okay. All right. There's my mark. Go over this side. Hopefully y'all can see. I'm gonna have to put my arm here in the way. I guess y'all can kind of see what I'm doing right there. Okay. Move it one more tooth. There we go. All right, this should be lined up. Yeah, that's lined up. Okay. And looking down here on the crankshaft, we're still lined up there. So lined up on the crankshaft. I'm going to put the pin and the bolt back in there on my guide. You can see where I ground the mark. Let me see where I ground the mark on the sprocket and the chain. And then over here, I made 2 marks. I ground, that one's kind of hard to see on the camera, but I ground that one sprocket and then I did 2 dots on this chain because it goes in between the 2. You mark the chain on the TDC mark of the sprocket. You're supposed to, but I did not. I didn't want to bother finding TDC. I just marked everything as I pulled it apart. I just ground my own marks on it, which you can do that. You don't necessarily have to find TDC, and there's no marks on this chain either. So as long as you pull the valve cover off and pull the timing cover off, and don't take anything apart, just etch your marks and then put it back exactly the way it was, you're fine. And I did this. You can do a paint marker, but I really don't like doing that because it doesn't make as a definitive of a mark, and then it can wear off with the oil. Use a punch or a file. You can use a file. Let me show you what I used. No. Don't put an angle. Don't put an angle grinder on that. I got this at Harbor Freight. It was like $10. It's a little rotary file. Comes with a bunch of little attachments. I just used that to grind the marks in it. You can use like anything that'll make a scratch mark, but the surfaces of the metal are very hard, and it's difficult to get it to make a scratch with like a with like a pick or a screwdriver or something. So, okay. All right. Got all that. I'm just going to wipe stuff out of these holes here, because that's where the O-rings go that seal the spark plug tubes. Wipe those surfaces clean. Okay. Oh. Now, okay, let me move my toolbox over here. Can't really see that very well. There we go, that's better. Okay. Now I got my pin right here for this one guide. It doesn't want to go in because there's hydraulic action. If you're putting something in and there's oil, I don't know if you can see that, it's like come back out. Look at that. That's because there's air stuck in there, and the oil on it is making it. It's not, the oil is not letting the air out. Sometimes you got to work it. Twist it sometimes. Usually that's kind of a tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to use some compressed air. Pull that out. If you've got, this goes for bolt holes too. If you have oil behind a bolt hole, and you run a bolt in there, you can cause a crack in the casing. Ask me how I know. Because you're basically, it's a hydraulic action. You're running the bolt down into fluid, and the fluid can't compress, so it's going to go out where it can. So whenever you're working with something like this, hydrolock, yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're basically hydrolocking it. So take some compressed air and blow out your bolt holes. Luckily, we didn't get any oil in these, so we're good. But there's just a little bit of oil in that hole there where this pin goes. So I'm going to get some compressed air and blow that out. Now let's see if it wants to go in. See, there we go. Look at that. I'm actually glad that happened because that was a really good example that I could show y'all of what happens if you have oil behind in a bolt hole. It's the same principle. If you have oil behind in a bolt hole, same thing. You're going to be trying to compress it, and it's going to break something. And this was a T30, I think, which I should have a socket. Yes, it's still my socket out right here. And that's a little bit. I don't know if that guide got stuck. It's jammed because it doesn't want to go down because I moved it over here. Can't quite get this guide to come back down where it needs to be to put the bolt in. I don't know exactly what's wrong, but the bolt's not threading in with the sleeve. So I can push the guide up. It's like it wanted to go up further before, but now it doesn't want to come all the way back down. So I don't quite know why that is, but something's wrong, obviously. Yeah, it's just not. I don't know quite what the problem is here. I don't know if the chain is jammed on it somewhere. Because the chain is not tight. Little stuff like this is shit that ends up eating up your time. So you can see it doesn't want to come down quite enough for the sleeve to go in there and the bolt to tighten. And I can slide it up and down a bit. I was trying to get it out earlier, like a couple days ago when I was messing with it. I don't know if I fucked something up because it'll slip past it. I can get it to slip out just a little bit, but then it won't. It just won't come down far enough. It's fucking hitting on something. I don't know if I'm gonna take that camshaft back out. Oh, man. That fucking sucks. Pull this camshaft back out. It's stuck on something. I just can't see what it's stuck on. And, I'm just going to take this other camshaft back out too. It's not working. So something's wrong here. Chain drop down into here. So pull it out. There we go. I don't know what it's freaking stopping on. Is it the head there? This is really frustrating. Something's stopping it from moving, but I can't see what it is. This was the shit I was hoping to avoid doing a live stream, was fucking bullshit like this. Just getting stuck on something retarded. But it happens. Looks like maybe it's not lined up straight, but it is. There's this bolt that goes through here. Oh. Well, that is a bolt right there that holds it in. But so why is it not going down? I guess, is it just that tight? It might just be that tight. You can't see the fucking thing in here. There's a bolt with a pin that goes through it that holds it there. So that's why it's not moving, but it's free to move other than that. So it should be able to go in. So I'm just going to be very careful. Try to get it to go in. You have to put some pressure downward on it while I get these. I don't like how tight that's going in, but that's how it has to go in. All right, fuck, that was irritating. Oh well, it's walking on shit. That's how it goes. All right, now we're gonna put the camshafts back in, and I drop the timing chain. And I gotta pull it back up. And it's way down there now. I'm professional, I promise. Oh, God. Okay. All right. I'm going to put the camshaft down. And then grab the chain. And then pick the camshaft back up. If I can find my mark first. There we go. There's my mark. God damn it. Okay, I'm just going to get the chain on there. And then I'll line it up in a second. And I gotta make sure the crankshaft is lined up still, and it is. We got the other side here. All right. They're lined up now. Oh. Yeah. Now I'm gonna get the O-rings for the spark plug tubes. Here. Got all our O-rings right here. If you do this, if you cut all the bags at once, make sure the O-rings are at the bottom so you don't cut the O-rings. And I'm just gonna put a little bit of oil on these O-rings, just get them lubed up so that they seat. Well. You want to put a little bit of oil on O-rings before you put them in, just so they seat properly. Trash right there. We're just gonna drop them in place up here at the top. Now, if you're reusing O-rings, let's say they're really expensive and you don't want to shell out the money for them, clean them up real good with a light solvent, alcohol probably, or a mild brake cleaner. Like a pure alcohol would be good. And then you use this stuff here. Don't put oil on it. Permatex anaerobic flange sealer. This stuff, it seals in the absence of air and it will harden up to a plastic. And it's used to seal machine surfaces. So if you need to reuse your O-rings, clean them up real good, put some of that flange sealer on them, and then put them in place. Make sure all the surfaces are absolutely free of oil if you're going to do that. And now, have the bearing caps here. I have them in the orientation. I'm just going to flip it over. Well, I don't want to lose my bolts. So I'm just going to put it kind of up like that. And make sure you pull your old O-rings off if they're stuck to it like they are on this. And if I can get the assembly lube on it here. Drop on each cam journal. Show you. Smear it around, get a good coating on it. Okay, got our surfaces nice and coated. Is Goat doing his live stream tonight? And then, oh great, there were other O-rings here. Of course there were. I missed these. Those look like they just seal bolt holes though. Ah, there's fucking O-rings on everything here. So I guess I am gonna have to clean these up and do that. It's a tedious process. Shit takes time and it fucking sucks sometimes. That's how it is. I'm gonna go get my alcohol. I'll be right back. Make sure your hands are clean too. Should go wash my hands, but just gonna do this. New paper towel. Put your O-rings in here. Clean them up. Let me get these O-rings here and do that with these two. O-rings up also. Oh shit. Oh, yeah, anti-seize. I was just reading through the chat. Yeah, sometimes you got to torque it down less if you put anti-seize on it. I'm going to clean surfaces right around where these O-rings go. And clean the surfaces here as well. Of course, that has oil all over it. Why would it not? Because there's fucking oil on everything. So I have to get another paper towel. Might have to. I was hoping to get the camshafts in and torque tonight, but I might have to call and recheck everything. But man, I might have to call it before then, because I got to get up somewhat early tomorrow. The glass guys are coming to put the windshields back in my Newport. Trying to get my hands real clean here. Now, if I had known these O-rings were there, I would have ordered them, but I missed it. I have a little bit of this stuff left. I had to cut the thing open. There's enough there. It's a jelly, kind of like a jelly. I don't know if this O-ring is exactly cleaned up. Okay. Now just coat those O-rings nicely. And then put them in place. You don't need a ton of this stuff, but I mean, get a good layer on it. Now, hopefully you're not going to watch me crack the camshafts right now. Center cap here. Put it in place. Go, just like that. Okay. And it's not going to go down all the way because you're going to have to tighten it in stages, because the camshafts are going to have to compress the valves down. So you're going to want to do it carefully. Carefully is the key. Again, a little bit of assembly lube. On each of the bearing journals. Okay. Okay, there we go. Make sure these two surfaces here where I put that anaerobic sealer on those old O-rings is clean. If you're going to do it that way, this stuff has to be clean. I recommend just replacing the O-rings. That way you don't have to worry about it. Okay. I'm just going to leave the camera up there. I'm going to put some assembly lube on these last bearing cap here. And then I'm going to put it up there. guess I got this thing going on here backwards because this is for the chain up here. All right, so now you got all your cam bearing caps in place. You're gonna start all of the bolts. Get them all threaded in. Get them all threaded in and then snug down. And then you're gonna slowly tighten a little bit at a time, each one. Oh, fuck. I've got this, there we go. Doesn't want to clear these. I got new rubber seals right here for this, so I'm gonna take this off. Put the rubber seal on last. Okay. Start them all by hand. Damn, I really can't believe y'all are watching all of this. But I appreciate it. It means a lot to me that somebody would sit through all these hours. I really hope all this is going to be in spec, because if I have to take it back apart, I'm going to have to reseal those O-rings again. The ones that I reused. Just grabbing my tools here real quick. I'm just running these down till they're snug. We're not tightening anything down fully yet. But you can see the camshafts are starting to go down just a little bit, even still. You don't. There you go. As you tighten it down and you find the right bolts, you'll find that the camshafts move down. So, like if you're tightening one down, you kind of want to do it in a star pattern. Sometimes that's not always possible, but you'll tighten it down a little bit here, a little bit there. It'll get tight. Move to a different bolt. And now we're going to move back over here. I didn't use. Not exactly want to move that much. Okay, all right, so now we kind of got it centered somewhat. There we go. This is tightening down back here because the camshafts were highest up back here first. So we're going to get these to go down. These to go down first back here. And as you tighten it down, you'll find that the bolts will get loose. Again, there'll just be a little bit of open thread. Just tighten those down. keep moving. You don't want to tighten it down too much in one spot at one time. And it's good to take a look at the camshaft, the caps, make sure they're going down evenly. Go. Go back up here. These are a little bit loose here. I'll tighten these up. Yeah. Loosen those back up, especially here up top. These cam caps here are a sensitive spot because they're this long, thin one up here. If you tighten it too much at one time, it can be prone to cracking. You don't want to crack a cam cap because typically you cannot get the cam cap separately from the cylinder head. And I'm just going to tighten that side down a little bit more over here because I can see this side is up higher. You know, when you go down with your hand, you can just feel light resist. You know, you don't, once it starts feeling like it's too much resistance, stop on that bolt, go to another one that's looser, tighten it a little bit. Just start feeling too much resistance. Then go back, find more bolts that are loosening up as you're tightening them down. Snug those up. And you want to take your time with this. See how those are getting loose again? And just keep finding them. As the camshafts go down, the cam caps, bolts are going to loosen up. Just keep going. Make sure you do it evenly. You do not want to crack a cam cap or split a camshaft, crack a camshaft. You're in big trouble then. So, okay. Trying to go back to this one back here. This one over here. These are the highest parts of it. Okay, it's getting a little bit tight. We'll come back down over here. That's pretty tight there still. Those are going down nicely. I'm just checking for any loose spots. And we got a loose spot right here. Go up here a little bit. It looks like we got a pretty good gap right here, so we'll tighten that down. Not too much at one time. See, camshafts are getting pretty close now. Almost centered. Go. These up here are pretty loose, so we're going to tighten these down. not all the way just yet. You can see how these will get loose again as you go. Just that one, I'm putting some of these back in with my fingers. You're not going to tighten these all the way back down just yet. You're going to torque them down to spec. And show you some tricks for that, because there is going to be oil in the threads of these. And you don't want to over torque it, especially with aluminum threads on these sport bikes. If it feels like it's not torquing down, it's best to just stop. If it feels like it's tight, and some of that just comes down to experience, seeing how it's going to feel. Now what I should have done is I should have blown all the bolt holes out with compressed air before I did this. I wasn't thinking. But it feels like these bolts are tightened down pretty good. It doesn't feel like they're slipping. You will feel them if they're going to slip. It'll just feel like it gets tight, but then it's not, and then it's just not tightening down. So if that happens, you can blow compressed air down the threads, the thread hole, and clean all the oil off of the bolts as well. So, and the reason why it's we're tightening it down in sequence like this, and why it keeps going down like that, is because you're compressing the valves. Even if you had it at top dead center, some of the valves are gonna be open at top dead center. So you're basically compressing that cam lobe down onto the valve, and it's opening the valve, and that's why there's that resistance, and why you have to be very careful doing this, otherwise you can crack something. So we're just nearing the end of having all of these snug down, and we're just getting them snug right now, and then we're going to torque them. And I'm going to have to look up torque spec for that. Valve adjustment on my ZX14 is going to be a nightmare when it's time for that one. That one's going to suck. I might have to drop the motor down a little bit for it. All right, those are all snug. So I'm going to go get the torque specs now. Give me just 1 second. Turn my hotspot on. So I got should have it pulled up already. I got the PDF service manual somewhere here. There we go. Okay. All right, looking at our, scroll down to the valve adjustment procedure. Cam sprocket mounting bolts are 11 foot-pounds. Okay. So I'm going to go get 11 foot-pounds. 11 times 12, so that's 144 inch-pounds. No, 121. I'll have to do the math on that. I have an inch-pound torque wrench, a smaller one I'm going to do this with. What freaking time it is? 11. Jesus, it's 11:13 already. Ah! All right, we're good. Okay. Let's see if I was right. 12 times 11. What is that? 121? 111? 132. Okay. So that's 132 inch-pounds. Set the torque wrench. So 125, 130, 132. Okay. There is a specific order you tighten these in, but I've been doing this long enough. I know the general order that they're supposed to go in. It's a star pattern. You start from the inside and work your way out. So, a beeping style torque wrench is better. This one's going to click whenever it's torqued. These are not clicking yet. I'm just going to tighten them all down kind of evenly until I start hearing them click. I'm not hearing them click yet. I'm just getting them all tightened down. I have a feeling it's going to click here on the next go around. I don't tighten them down too much at once. Just kind of doing it by feel right now. I'll take my extension off for that one. 11 foot-pounds kind of seems like a lot for these bolts. Usually these bolts are more like 8 or 9 foot-pounds. There we go. Did you hear that? Go. Now, this was just a cheap torque wrench I got at Harbor Freight, but it'll do the job. It'll be easy when you're tightening these down. So this is 132 inch-pounds. If you're torquing something down to like 20 inch-pounds, the click is not going to be as pronounced. You're not going to be torquing cam caps down to 20 inch-pounds, just FYI, but that's just for, let's say, if you're torquing down a carburetor or something and it says 20 inch-pounds, the click is not going to be anywhere near that pronounced. Something that's 20 inch-pounds though, probably just tighten that down by hand, honestly. Do it by feel. Again, like how we were doing it in stages before, you don't want to tighten the bolts too much. You want to feel them out. And then at the end, you'll get them all at spec and you'll hear them click. Just like that. All right, that's all the bolts. We're going to go over them again. Now, one last thing. Check our timing marks again. Make sure that's still good. And I think I can see that they're still good. There we go. You can barely make out that notched mark there on the exhaust sprocket. Ow. And this one over here. We've got the two etched marks on the chain. And then it goes in the center, so that's good. We're on the crankshaft. So what we're going to do now is we're going to put our tensioner back in. So when you put this tensioner back in, this O-ring is still good, so I'm going to use it. Still feel you can feel that it's raised around the edge. Really, it could be used to be replaced, but it's still raised around the edge and it's good. You take that center bolt out. Like that. And then when you put it in, the tensioner is going to, you put it in, and then when you put the center bolt in, it's going to release the tensioner down. It should be offset, the bolt holes, so it should be possible to get it oriented incorrectly. And I think I did just that. I think I have it upside down. This bolt's not going to start. Did I? Oh, it looks like it might go either way. Maybe it doesn't matter. I think it matters. I'm pretty sure this spring side here was up. Started. Bolt started in our holes and then pop it down. Trusty 8mm wobble socket. This is just a cheap set of wobble sockets, well, universal joint sockets. Bought these on Amazon for pretty cheap. They do the good job. Astro brand. You can see that. Astro. I have a set of Snap-on wobble sockets at work, but these don't see that much use, so it's okay for them to be used here for a small amount of use that they see. Okay. Right. Then there's the cap that goes on it. And that should release, but that tensioner is not releasing. Unless it's I'm going to take that back out. Because I may have gotten too tight. I don't know if I got it set all the way. Sometimes you got to take stuff back out. No, it's in all the way. That's weird. I wonder if it needs to rotate over in order to tension up, because I don't remember there being. I remember there being last time I pulled this plunger out. I remember it being further out, something like that. See if I can look down. Maybe I got it oriented the wrong way. So though. Yeah, it's like I'm pushing back on the guide and it's pushing the tensioner back out, so it's a little odd. I remember there being more, I remember that tensioner being further out last time, because I had to tighten it up before, although there is some slack on this side of the chain over here. So that's probably what the deal is. So I think I need to rotate the engine over just a little bit because you'll have slack on one side of the chain or the other. So I need a spacer for this. So I'm going to get a stack of washers. So you don't want to just, if you're going to put a bolt into the crankshaft, you don't want to just, you can't just run it all the way down without the sprockets on it. Sometimes it's difficult to get these sockets off of the extension when there's oil all over them. So I'm going to rotate until that tight. There we go. All right. Yep, there we go. See the slack? I don't know if y'all saw that, but the slack moved over to this side now. So there we go. Pushed it in the center, and then we got it slacked up. Bolts in now. So yeah, that's an important thing to note there when you're putting the tensioner in after this is make sure the slack is on the right side. Make sure it's on the tensioner side. And you know, over time working on stuff, you'll kind of get your intuition of something feels right, something doesn't feel right. But if something doesn't feel right, you know, ask for help or do some research. Take your time, because if you break something because you get in a hurry, you get frustrated, it's just more pain later. Ask me how I know. Okay, tight. Put this cap over the center plunger and then tighten that down. And then our chain and our cams are all torqued up, and we can go ahead and rotate the engine over. After this, we're gonna have to rotate it over anyway, because we got to check all the clearances again. That's a 12 millimeter. There's like 12 millimeter wrench right there. Okay. And might as well just go ahead and put this crank sprocket back on instead of just doing that. Oh man, my battery's almost dead. So yeah, next live stream, we're going to measure the tolerances. I got to get in bed. It's way too fucking late. But I appreciate y'all staying here with me. It means a lot to me. So what I am going to do real quick is I'm going to put this crank sprocket back on. This is the starter sprocket basically, but it goes on the crankshaft. Normally a crankshaft on like a car engine, the sprocket would slide onto a keyway on the crankshaft. But because this is a motorcycle, you know, the Suzukis have a sprocket like that, but I guess this bike doesn't. The splines for the timing chain the sprocket, quote unquote, is machined into the crankshaft. So the sprocket on this is just this starter sprocket that the starter spins on. But it is splined, so it can only go on one way. Just look at the splines, line it up, and there's a specific torque for this, but we don't really give a shit about that. At least not right now. I kind of know how tight things need to be. That's about as tight as that needs to be. Now I got this stuck on here. There we go. Ah. That's right there. Spin the engine over. Make sure nothing hits. Everything seems like it's spinning over smoothly. Good. But I'm going to put the engine back to where it was because I'm tired and I kind of want to check my timing marks again tomorrow. I'm probably going to take this back off and check my timing marks again. Let's make sure I didn't mess anything up before I check the timing valve clearance again, verify they're in spec. And now the thing that sucks is all this work we just did, if the clearances are out, if they're not out, if your math was wrong or something was wrong, you got to take it all back apart and do it again. Change shims again. But anyway, I'm going to close out the live stream now because I'm exhausted and my phone's about to die. I'll post up when I'm going to do part 4, which is going to be measuring the clearances. Maybe tomorrow, maybe not tomorrow, probably Monday. I'm going to say probably Monday, but I will put a community post up. So anyway, I'm gonna go now. Thanks for tuning in tonight, guys, and have a good rest of your night. Bye-bye.